good morning, class. Today we are here to learn about science. So, we are going to start Science and Technology Part 2. And the chapter that we are going to begin today is Living Organisms, Life Process of Living Organisms. We are going to study about how, in a living organism, respiration takes place, energy is being produced, and various other processes related to a living organism. Things a cell respires, how oxygen is taken in, how carbon dioxide is given out. All these processes, how does this process take place? We're going to study about this in this particular chapter, as well as how a cell gets divided. As we know, there are multiple cells in our body. Each and every cell performs certain functions that are been assigned. And when the cell becomes mature enough, it self divides and forms n number of multiple daughter cells. So we are going to study about cell division also in this particular chapter. So class, let's move ahead and begin with the chapter. As we all know, there are different systems in human body. They function in coordination with each other. For this action, they need constant supply of energy. Carbohydrates, fats, and lipids in the diet provide energy to the body. The mitochondria present in the cytoplasm of the cell synthesizes the energy by utilizing these nutrients. For this reaction, oxygen is necessary. It is provided by the circulating blood. Each cell is thus supplied with oxygen and nutrients to produce the energy. Plants are autotrophic. They synthesize their own food by photosynthesis. After utilizing some of their own needs, the remaining food is stored in fruits, roots, stem tubers, leaves, etc. Plant matters is consumed by animals, thus taking the nutrients from them. So, the nutrients are being divided into three groups: energy giving nutrients, body building nutrients, protective and regulative nutrients. And all these nutrients that we acquire, maybe from the food we eat, maybe from the sunlight that we get, maybe from the oxygen that is the air around us, each and every element of living organism of the environment, we gain energy, we gain nutrients. So we gain nutrients like carbohydrates. And from where? What is the source of carbohydrates? Carbohydrates we get from milk, fruits, jaggery, cane, sugar, cereals, vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, etc. Where else? Function of this carbohydrate is to provide calorie, that means energy to the body. So, a living organism, respiration in living organism takes place at the body and cellular level. Body level respiration, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between body and environment. Cellular level respiration, oxidation of foodstuffs inside the cell. So, this is how the process of respiration takes place. As you can see in the picture, we have a nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, oxygen goes inside and through a diaphragm, it enters the lungs and the alveoli and bronchi that are there in our body. In the alveoli, what exactly happens is being shown in the next or besides the picture. So what is happening? As you can see, there is an alveoli picture. Blood comes in, oxygen is given out, and carbon dioxide is given out, and oxygen enters inside the blood cells, right? So this is the veins, arteries and veins through which the blood is being circulated in the body. So what is happening? The blood which contains carbon dioxide in it, it enters alveoli, and in alveoli what is happening? They are pumping oxygen in the blood, and this oxygen is then utilized by various parts of the body. So what is happening exactly? Deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood. When there is deoxygenated blood, the blood enters alveoli and oxygen is being supplied to that particular blood. When the blood comes out from the alveoli and it enters your heart, when it enters, the oxygenated blood enters your heart, and that heart has oxygen, or that blood contains oxygen in it. When it reaches the heart, through the heart, it passes on to various parts of the body where your body uses the oxygen present in the blood. When the oxygen in the blood has been used, so what happens when the cells respire, right? Each and every cell in our body, what is happening? Respiration takes place. And when respiration is taking place, they give out carbon dioxide. How is carbon dioxide produced in our body? When the organs in the body, they they utilize the oxygen that is present in the blood at that moment. What is given out by the cells? Carbon dioxide is given out by the cells. That carbon dioxide get mixed up with the blood. That blood goes again to the heart, and from the heart that blood is moved on respiration by the organs, therefore left with carbon dioxide. So what is left? When the oxygen has been used by the body or by the organs, respiration takes place by those organs and carbon dioxide is given inside the blood. When carbon dioxide gets mixed with the blood, it moves to the heart, and from the heart it moves to your alveoli, and where in the alveoli again oxygenated blood gets transported to various parts of the body. This is how in the alveoli deoxygenated blood gets converted into oxygenated blood. What do you mean by breathing? Breathing means just taking in oxygen. So, breathing is the process of inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. Oxygen means O2 and carbon dioxide means CO2. Then, what do you mean by respiration? Respiration is a process wherein oxygen has been utilized for various activities of your body, and then carbon dioxide is released out of your body. Now, this is how energy is being produced, or this is how actually the process of respiration takes place. C6H12O6, that is glucose, and oxygen, when they combine together, we get the residues or product in the form of carbon dioxide gas, water molecules, and energy, that is also called as ATP molecules. So there are a lot of amount of energy that is being produced when glucose and oxygen combines together. But in this particular chemical reaction, as you can see, it is an unbalanced chemical equation wherein if you observe, the molecules of carbon are 6, where else in your product side there are only one molecule of carbon. So to make it equal, what do we need to do? We need to add 6 molecules. So we don't have to disturb the compound, that is CO2. So we cannot add C6. What we have to do? We have to add 6 before C. So what we'll do is, as in your LHS there are 6 molecules, so what we are doing is we are adding 6 before carbon dioxide. Right? We cannot change the molecular formula of carbon dioxide. That is the reason we have to add 6 molecules ahead. Right? So now carbon dioxide has been properly, what we say, balanced in your LHS as well as your RHS. Let's talk about hydrogen. There are how many molecules of hydrogen? 12. And in your LHS there are only 2 molecules, right? H2O. So there are only 2 molecules of hydrogen. So what we need to do is, there are already H2O is present. So to make it 12, we need to multiply H by 6. So we add 6 next to H. So that becomes 6, 6 1 is 6, 6 2 is 12. Hydrogen has been also balanced. We had 12 molecules of hydrogen in your LHS and 12 molecules of hydrogen in your RHS. Now, let's talk about oxygen. In your LHS, there are 6 plus 2, 10 or 8. 8 molecules. But now, in your RHS, the molecules have changed. 6 ones are 6, 6 twos are 12. Since it is O2, it is 6 ones are 6, 6 twos are 12. In your product side, the oxygen molecules are 6 twos are 12. Again 6, because CO2, there were already 2 molecules, we added 6 before C, so 6 twos are 12. In carbon dioxide we got 12 molecules of oxygen, where else in water, that is H2O, we got only 6 molecules. So 12 plus 6 equals to 18. In your product side there are 18 molecules of oxygen and you have 6 molecules over here. So what are we going to do? We are going to add 6, right? So 6, when we added, how much total molecules we got? 6 twos are 12, O2, 6 twos are 12 and 6 molecules in glucose. So that all together the equation has got balanced. Each molecule has been balanced. Carbon has been balanced, hydrogen has been balanced, as well as oxygen has been balanced. When this particular equation is being carried out, that means balancing of the LHS and RHS, that means products and reactants is being taking place. There is lot amount of energy that has been released, and this energy that has been released, that is called as ATP. ATP molecules are being stored in your mitochondria. That means your mitochondria, which you all know. What is mitochondria? Mitochondria is also called as the powerhouse of cell, right? So when this mitochondria stores energy, whenever your body requires energy, mitochondria supplies this energy to your body. So class, as you can see, oxygen molecules are not stable. In your product side, we have 6 ones are 6, 6 twos are 12. 12 molecules you get from carbon dioxide, where else in water we have only 6 molecules. So 6 plus what we have? 12 gives me 18. So in your product side, we have 18 molecules of oxygen. But in your reactant side, we only have 8 molecules. So there are 10 molecules which are less. So what are we going to do? Basically, there are 12 molecules which are less. So what are we going to do is, in your oxygen, we are going to add 6 molecules of oxygen. So when we add 6 molecules of oxygen, we are obtained a stable combination. That means a stable reaction is being performed. A stable reaction takes place where each, the reactant side and the product sides, is being balanced. Class, when the balancing of equation takes place, or the balancing of each and every molecule takes place, compound takes place, there is lot amount of energy that has been released, and that energy is being stored. Where it is being stored? It is stored in the cell. And which part of the cell? As we have all have studied, it is the mitochondria of the cell. So when this particular reaction, that means glucose, when it gets oxygen, that means when it gets oxidized, it forms a lot amount of energy. That means ATP molecules are being formed, right? So we're going to study how these ATP molecules and why mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell, because it stores energy. We have learned this. There is a good reason mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell. But why? Right? We used to study because it stores energy that the cell produces, and then the cell, whenever it wants, it can utilize the energy that has been stored in the mitochondria. Therefore, it is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Till 8th standard or 9th standard, we just studied this. But today, we are going to learn why mitochondria, how energy is being stored in the mitochondria. We're going to learn it today. Right? So, class, as you can see in the picture, a person is taking in what? Oxygen. That oxygen is being transferred where? Into our lungs. What is present in the lungs? Alveoli is present in the lungs. And that alveoli, what does that alveoli do? That alveoli, it puts in, or it pumps in oxygen inside our blood. And that blood carries oxygen towards our heart. That oxygenated blood, when it is brought to the heart transfers it to various parts of our body, to various organs of our body. What is an organ made up of? An organ is made up of various tissues that are present in our body, and that tissue utilizes oxygen for its functioning. What is a tissue made up of? A tissue is made up of a combination of multiple or millions of cells. These cells come together to perform one particular tissue, and these many tissues come together to form one organ performing a function like heart, skin. These are what? These are our organs: legs, hands, arms, liver, lungs, alveoli. These are our what we say organs. So these organs have millions and billions of cells present in it, and these cell, each and every cell is having a mitochondria. Each and every cell carries on the process of various formations like energy transformations. So we're going to study that in detail now. As one cell, we're going to study this for one cell. We all know our entire body has multiple cells present inside it. So what are we going to do? We're going to study how energy is being produced. So we have a cell. In a cell we have our nucleus, and along with the nucleus we have cytoplasm and we have mitochondria. So the main three things that we are going to study today, we don't want any other organelles of the cell. No Golgi bodies, no valves, no nothing. We just want these three parts that are present in the cell: nucleus, cytoplasm and mitochondria. The main part or the main functioning of what we say energy is done in the cytoplasm and it is stored in the mitochondria. So we are going to study that in detail now. As you saw in the earlier slide, we had a formula of glucose. When glucose got combined or oxidized with oxygen molecules, so what happened basically, glucose got combined with oxygen and it gave water molecules, oxygen, carbon dioxide molecules, as well as it released a lot amount of energy, right? So when glucose got oxidized, it converted itself, or the byproduct that was left behind was papa. Papa means pyruvic acid, right? So papa, I said 2Pa, 2Pa, right? 2Pa, papa contains PAPA, that means 2Pa. 2Pa means two molecules of pyruvic acid. So glucose, when glucose synthesizes itself, it gives me papa, that means pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid further synthesizes itself to release a lot amount of energy and it gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A. Each papa, we have two papas, so one papa will be one acetyl coenzyme A, other papa would give me other acetyl coenzyme A. When this acetyl coenzyme A, it gives out two molecules of NADH2 and FADH2 and enters into the mitochondria, and that process is called as a Krebs cycle. Alright, so this is a short form. We don't have to go in detail that what exactly is happening, how is it getting converted. No, that is for your higher standard. That means when you take science as a field for higher studies and you choose biology as a subject, you're going to study this in detail over there. That how glucose gets converted into papa, how papa gets converted into acetyl coenzyme, and what is Krebs cycle. We just have to study this short in detail. Glucose getting converted into 2-papa. 2-papa gets converted into acetyl coenzyme E. Acetyl coenzyme E enters mitochondria and gives Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle has been completed. Now, when glucose converts itself into papa, that means pyruvic acid, that process is called as glycolysis. Okay, and when this process takes place, papa is one of the byproduct. Other than papa, we also have NADH2 molecules and water molecules. After, when papa gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A, we are left with two byproducts, that is NADH2 and CO2. Now, what is NADH2 and FADH2? These molecules are nothing but they produce ATP molecules. So these are different forms of ATP, energy giving molecules to your body. right? Glycolysis. Glucose molecule is oxidized stepwise into two molecules of each pyruvic acid, ATP, NADH2, and water. This process takes place in the cytoplasm. Pyruvic acid formed during glycolysis is converted into a molecule of acetyl coenzyme A and two molecules each of NADH2 and CO2. Once glycolysis has been completed, your papa gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A. That particular process is called as tricarboxylic acid cycle. When acetyl coenzyme A molecule enters the mitochondria, the tricarboxylic acid cycle chain reaction takes place in mitochondria. Acetyl part of acetyl coenzyme A is completely oxidized, releasing molecules of CO2, H2O, and FADH2 and NADH2. So, what is FADH2 and NADH2 in this case? They are nothing but your ATP molecules, right? Once they enter the mitochondria, the electron transfer chain reaction, that means electron transfer chain or your electron transfer system, takes place only in the mitochondria. Molecules of NADH2 gives me electron transfer chain is also called as Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle. This happens in the mitochondria. Tricarboxylic acid cycle is TCA is also called as Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle. In the mitochondria, when we get NADH2 molecules and FADH2 molecule. So one molecule of NADH2 is equal to 3 ATP, that means energy. 3 molecules of energy, and one molecule of FADH2 is equal to 2 molecules of ATP. Now, when this entire process takes place, the ATP molecules, that is NADH2 and FADH2, is being stored where? In the mitochondria, and they are nothing but forms of energy. Therefore, mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. We don't have to go in detail that why, how the reaction takes place, because that you're going to study in your higher classes. That is when you take science as your field and you take biology as a subject, you're going to study how glycolysis, the process of glycolysis, how 3 molecules, 6 molecules get converted or get attached, and how this chain reaction takes place. But for now, for our SSC, we are going to study about these steps only. Let us once again revise what we studied in this slide. We'll start from the first picture. When we take in oxygen, that oxygen has been utilized by our lungs. Through our lungs, oxygen is being pumped inside our blood through alveoli, and that blood is being sent to the heart. In your heart, from your heart, the oxygenated blood is sent to various organs of your body. That organ is made up of various tissues and cells. The cell utilizes the oxygen. How does it utilize? The glucose that is present in the cytoplasm of the cell gets oxygen from the blood, and it leaves behind 2 papa, that means pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid further divides itself and forms acetyl coenzyme A. This process is called as Krebs cycle, when after completion of Krebs cycle we are left with FADH and NADH molecules. So NADH molecule means 3 molecules of ATP, and FADH molecules means 2 molecules of ATP. In the cytoplasm, we go across glycolysis, where glucose is being converted into papa. We learn about tricarboxylic acid cycle, that means when pyruvic acid gets converted to acetyl coenzyme A, and in your mitochondria, when electron transfer system or electron transfer chain takes place. Thus, one molecule of glucose gives out carbon dioxide, water, along with energy after complete oxidation in the presence of oxygen. In case of less storage of carbohydrates in the body, then lipid, that means fats, and proteins are utilized for producing energy. Lipids are converted into fatty acids, and proteins are broken down to amino acid. In such condition, both fatty acid and amino acids are converted into acetyl coenzyme A. That means carbohydrates, glucose is a part of carbohydrates. we have carbohydrates, glycolysis, pyruvic acid, acetyl coenzyme. Since glucose is not present in the cell, then fat gets converted to fatty acid and directly to acetyl coenzyme E. Proteins to amino acids and directly to acetyl coenzyme E. This is a process when oxygen is present in the body, when oxidation takes place. So we studied in the earlier slide about glucose, carbohydrates. So carbohydrates gets converted to glycolysis. Glycolysis to pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid to acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A completes the cycle called as Krebs cycle. And at the end of Krebs cycle, we are left with carbon dioxide, water and ATP molecules, that means energy. What if the body doesn't have ATP molecules inside it, or if the body doesn't have carbohydrates present inside it? Then we have fats, that is also called as lipids. Fats gets converted to fatty acids and at the end we have acetyl coenzyme A. Similarly, if we don't have fats, we don't have carbohydrates, we have proteins that is present in the body. So proteins gets converted to amino acids and then it is getting converted to acetyl coenzyme A. This is the process of energy production through aerobic respiration, that means presence of oxygen. What if oxygen is not present? That means anaerobic respiration. So when anaerobic respiration in living organisms or cells takes place, glucose gets converted to glycolysis, pyruvic acid, but we had acetyl coenzyme A when we had aerobic respiration. We'll have fermentation process over here and different products like vinegar, vitamins and all would be your byproduct using various microorganisms, because if oxygen is not present, then we have what microorganisms which is going to take the process of fermentation. Similarly, pyruvic acid. So through pyruvic acid and fermentation, we also can produce alcohol. Right? We can produce alcohol and yeast is a what is used. Yeast is used as a alcohol, and if not even alcohol, then we have lactic acid to produce it, and we have erythrocytes and muscle cell which is a part of lactic acid. This is nothing but process of energy production through anaerobic respiration of living organisms and cells. Now we are going to study about ATP structure. ATP structure means energy production structure. What is the full form of ADP? ADP? Adenosine triphosphate. That means 3-phosphate. Right? What do you mean by adenosine? Adenosine means adenine plus ribose. Adenine plus ribose. That means hexagon plus pentagon. That is the structure of adenine. Okay, adenine means hexagon plus pentagon. So hexagon means a figure having 6 sides. Pentagon means a figure having 5 sides. So let's see, this is a hexagon, this is a pentagon. So this entire adenine is what hexagon and pentagon attached together is called as adenine. This is the structure of ATP. I am going to show you. This is what we are studying is the structure of ATP. So this is the structure of ATP. Adenine plus ribose means pentagon. So we also have one pentagon separate. They combine together to make our adenosine which is there in our ATP molecule. And we have 3-phosphate, right? 3-phosphate means 3 molecules of phosphate. So 1-phosphate, 2nd-phosphate and 3rd-phosphate. When energy is being released or when energy is being stored, now what is going to happen? This energy is going to be utilized by the body, by the organs, right? So when energy gets utilized, we have full amount of energy when we have 3 phosphates. But when energy gets utilized, that means 1 phosphate goes out. When 1 phosphate goes out, we are left with no energy. and we are left with two molecules of phosphate, that is diphosphate. When the energy was stored, it was adenosine triphosphate, three molecules of phosphate. But when the energy was utilized by the body, we were left with two phosphate molecules. Class, we have almost done. In the next lecture, we are going to start with the next part of the chapter. So, you sit back and revise what we have studied in this particular lesson till now. Read the chapter. You are going to come across various things. But as I have done one slide, second slide, third slide, read that part that is present in your textbook. Things would be more clear. This is just the explanation that I have given you of a short explanation of what is there in your textbook. But once you read the entire text, you will understand the entire chapter or whatever explanation has been given in the slide. Okay, class? Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, keep studying.